Hi, second graders. Today we are going to be working on 9-6 lesson in your math book. So here we go. We are going over our words. So we have our normal words. Man, these words have been very popular the last little bit. So our words: place value, regroup, ones, tens, and hundreds. So we should know pretty much what all of those words mean by now. We've been working on them so many days. So remember that when we do regroup, that we go to our the next place value over, the larger place value, and then we borrow or we regroup and we take one of the tens or one of the hundreds and we break it up so that it can be used in a different place. So let's read our problem. A store has 324 board games. It sells 158 board games. How many board games does the store have left to sell? So this is that same bar model we've been going over. So the total number goes on the top. So it has a total of 324 board games. Now, it sells 158. We are trying to figure out how many is left. What is the missing part? So we are subtracting 324 minus 158. Just like that. Now, look at the place value models to help solve this problem. So you want to line up your numbers correctly. So if you look to see, we have a 4. Now I like to circle that number. We take 4 and we subtract 8. Now we can't do that, so we have to go next door. My 2 becomes a 1. And my 4 becomes a 14. So now I subtract 14 minus 8 equals 6. Now let's take 1 minus 5. But here's the problem. We can't do that. I have one piece of candy. Can you take 5 away from that? No, you can't. So we have to do the same thing. So let's circle that 1 and we're going to go next door. We are going to take that 3 and that 3 becomes a 2 and the 1 becomes an 11. So you have to regroup 2 times. So you can see 11 minus 5 equals 6 and 2 minus 1 equals 1. So it can be kind of tricky. But if you practice and really pay attention and ask yourself, do I need to regroup? So that's the most important part. You just need to ask yourself, do I need to regroup? So this store has 166 board games left. Let's go on to the next page. And here we go. So we are doing the same thing, guys. We want to look and ask ourselves, do we need to regroup? So let's edit this guy. So I have, for my first problem, 416 minus 137. I'm going to circle my top number, 6, and I have minus 7. Can I do that? Well, if I have 6 pieces of candy, can I take 7 away? I cannot. So I need to go to my 1, and my 1 becomes a 0. And my 6 becomes a 16. Oh, we don't want to make that bigger. Okay, my 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 7. So 16 minus 7 is 9. Now we go to our tens place. 0 minus 3. I have 0 pieces of candy. Can I take 3 away from this? No. So I need to go next door again. My 4 becomes a 3, and my 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Let's do the next one. Circle that 4. If I have 4 pieces of candy, can you take 9 away from this? Try to take 9 away from 4. You can't. So I need to go next door, and my 2 becomes a 1, and my 4 becomes a 14. Like that. So 14 minus 9 is 5. Now let's circle this 1 because this is the number we're working with now. 1 minus 6. I have 1. Can I take 6 away from that? No, you can't. So my 1 says to the 5, can I have a hundreds block? And the 5 says sure, and the 5 becomes a 4, and this 1 now becomes an 11. So 11 minus 6 is 5, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Sorry, I kind of copied this a little bit wonky. 2 minus 8. We can't do that. We go next door. Our 6 becomes a 5, and our 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. 5 minus 9. I have 5 pieces of candy. I'm going to circle this number. I have 5 pieces of candy. Can you take 9 away? Of course not. 2 becomes a 1, and this 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 9 is 6, and 1 minus nothing is 1. Let's start on the next row. I have 2. If I have 2 pieces of candy, can I take 2 away? Of course I can. If I have 8 pieces of candy, can I take 8 away? Yes, I can. And 7 minus 3 is 4. Ooh, that was an easy one. 7 minus 6. I have 7 pieces of candy. 7 on my hand. Can I take 6 away? Yeah, I can. So I have 1. 3 minus 5. Can't do that. My 9 becomes an 8. My 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. And then I have 8 minus 4, which is 4. Number 6. 5 minus 2 is 3. 6 minus 9. Well, I'm going to go next door, and I'm going to say, can I have a hundreds block? And the 6 is going to say, or the 4 is going to say, of course. My 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7, and 3 minus 2 is 1. Next one. Circle that 3. 3 minus 8. Can't do it. Go to the 4. The 4 becomes a 3. The 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. Now I have a 3 minus 7. Can I do that? Nope. Circle my 3 and my 8. My 8 becomes a 7. My 3 becomes a 13. And my 13 minus a 7 is 6. And 7 minus 1 is 6. So we just really need to pay attention and ask ourselves, do we need to regroup? Remember, if there's more on the floor, then you need to go next door and get 10 more. So if there's more on the bottom, you need to go next door. If there's not more on the bottom, then you don't. Problem solving, yay! Caleb gets 321 votes in a school election. Zach gets 289 votes. How many more votes did Caleb get than Zach? When you see how many more, and we've gone over this so many times this year, boys and girls, when you see how many more, that means to subtract because you are comparing two different people. For example, if I have 5 pieces of candy and my friend Ben has 2 pieces of candy, how many more do I have than Ben has? You would take 5 minus 2 equals, and that equals 3. I have 3 more pieces of candy. So when you compare two different people, you are subtracting. How many more? Think subtract. So how many more? Caleb has 321 votes. This is a close race. And Zach has 289 votes. Subtracting, we're circling this top number. Two becomes a 1 because we need to go next door. 11 minus 2 equals, or 11 minus 9 equals 2. 1 minus 8. Can I take 8 away from this number? No, because there's more on the floor. There's more on the floor, then go next door and get some more. The 3 becomes a 2, and the 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 8 is 3, and 2 minus 2 is 0. If there's a 0 at the beginning of the number, you do not have to write it. It's insignificant. So how many more votes did Caleb get? Caleb got 32 more votes than Zach. Lola says that to subtract 854 and minus 158, she thinks she'll need to regroup because there is enough of every place value except the ones. Is Lola correct? Will she need to regroup? Well, let's see. 854 minus 158. Well, it looks like, yes, she's going to have to regroup in the ones because when you go next door, the 5 becomes a 4 and the 4 becomes a 14. Now, part of the problem, though, is she is right that you do have to regroup, but does she have to regroup just once? It says to regroup just once. No, because now she doesn't have enough 10, so she needs to go next door, get some more again, and the 4 becomes a 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. 7 minus 1 is 6. So was she correct? Was Lola correct? No, because she needed to regroup not one time, but 2 times. So was Lola correct? Let me expand this. Was she correct? No. She needed to regroup twice, not once. And that is the end of this worksheet. So I hope that you guys had an okay time doing your subtraction. Make sure you really pay attention and ask yourself if you need to regroup. And really look at the top number and the bottom number. And remember, if there's more on the floor, go next door and get some more.